When Qinfeng asked this question, Zhang Jinxuan quickly sent several more voice messages, explaining the general situation. There is a couple in our guild, codenamed Shuangwaiwai and Bubblefish, who led the team to attack an emerald-level boss. As a result, the emerald-level boss escaped to reality through the cracks because the boss's health has reached the bottom. They gathered people and dispatched in reality to find the boss through long-distance reconnaissance method not long after. The emerald-level boss was found in the violent area in the center of the original Magic City, but they were attacked by other players not long after they set out. It is said that the attacker is a disgusting giant meatball who can speak some confusing words and speaks the language of Sakura Country all the time. But there is no logic after being attacked by the meatball. They didn't even have time to kill the boss and were directly dispersed. The meatball is very strong, and because we have lost 5 members in reality, they were all swallowed by the meatball and merged into it. Meatball. Sakura Country. Qinfeng's face suddenly changed. That means that meatball is a collection of players who have died and gathered together. Qinfeng has never encountered such a situation. Even in his previous life, he had never heard of it. No matter what, Qinfeng must take action when such a thing happens. After all, Qinfeng has also heard of the team of Shuangwaiwai and Bubblefish. Although it is not the strongest team in the Sky Guild, it is also one of the top 10 teams in the Sky Guild. The overall strength is very strong, otherwise it would be impossible to defeat the Emerald level boss, since even they can't beat them. It means that the combat power of the fused meatball is extremely strong. I want to see who is causing trouble. Qinfeng's expression turned cold and he immediately logged off. And after he logged off, the blonde girl in front of him, Aisha Shizi, finally got rid of the state of being forced to serve while she breathed a sigh of relief. She also gritted her teeth. In her eyes, this little heir seemed to be getting more and more hateful. Reality. The Magic City. The Magic City today has been divided into hundreds of areas due to the spread of desolation. There are normal mild areas, turbulent areas with 10 times the life flow rate, and violent areas with 100 times the life flow rate. No matter what area, there will be some monsters running around. In all the mild areas, they are currently the survival areas of players. Once a monster appears, it will basically be wiped out quickly. In the turbulent areas and violent areas, there are no special players who go in to wipe out monsters. So, in these areas where the red fog floats, there are all kinds of monsters everywhere. Humanoid monsters like rotting corpses, beast monsters like dried beasts, and some giant insect monsters are roaming around in the red fog, looking for prey. Generally, players with weak strength will be torn to pieces in a moment if they enter these areas. In the Magic City, the most important river was the Huangpu River. At this moment, the Bund area, which was originally the most prosperous area, was already filled with red fog, and various monsters were running around. Even many high-rise buildings had become monster nests, and some buildings had already become ruins. In just 1 month, the desolation spread, and the environment around the world had changed dramatically. Countless originally prosperous cities had become a paradise for monsters. The surface of the Huangpu River was filled with thick red fog, which was the iconic environmental feature of the violent area. And in the river, there were many water monsters wandering. There were strange fish with 3 heads and distorted human-shaped drowned people, making the river full of deadly dangers. In this environment that ordinary people could hardly reach, there was a long-haired man wearing leather armor, hiding in the water. Closing his eyes to rest, he was in stealth mode, and his stealth level was quite high, so he was not discovered by the monsters around him. As for his mind, it was focused on an abandoned park more than 10 kilometers away. Skydome Guild. Oh, nothing special. The long-haired man's hair fluttered in the water like water grass, and under the red mist, it was quite artistic. He wore a mask like a gas mask, and the corners of his mouth under the mask were slightly upturned. At this time, he was controlling the Meat Mountain puppet he made and stitched by himself, chasing the players of the Skydome Guild. My Meat Mountain puppet is a terrifying existence that can be infinitely restored. No matter whether it is physical damage or elemental damage, it cannot be completely killed, because the Meat Mountain puppet has no health bar at all. Moreover, after my training, this Meat Mountain puppet has a very strong percentage of instant death affix. Skydome Guild. Shadow. I will be the Terminator who ends it all, and I will also be the only god in this world. It's obvious. This long-haired young assassin actually came here to make trouble for Qinfeng and wanted to kill him. I have to say, judging from this guy's second-year thinking, he is obviously a player who lives a good life. He wants to kill Qinfeng, and his biggest reliance is the Meat Mountain puppet he trained. This puppet has no health bar, can be infinitely restored, and has a percentage of instant death affix. But he doesn't know that Qinfeng is now completely immune to the instant death affix. He doesn't know. Now Qinfeng's perception ability has reached such an incredible level. In fact, with Qinfeng's current reputation and prestige, there will be many people who want to kill Qinfeng all over the world. The reason why no one came to provoke him is that those who want to kill Qinfeng do not have the ability to kill Qinfeng. But like this middle school long-haired young man, the guy who thinks he has the ability to kill the shadow will naturally attack Qinfeng. Of course. This long-haired young man did not rush to the door rashly. Instead, he waited for the opportunity. Now, the team of the Skydome Guild finally went out to hunt the low-health boss, and the long-haired young man caught the opportunity. Praise the goddess of death. Your cursed slate gave me the ability to kill Shadow. Next, please witness the fall of the great Xia legend, Shadow. How do you deal with the percentage of instant death affix? You have caused our Sakura country to suffer unbearable losses. I will hang your body at the highest point of Dongdu and let countless monsters devour it. It will definitely become a spectacle that shocks the world. The long-haired young man hidden in the water of the Huangpu River sneered and trembled, obviously in a state of extreme excitement. Under his control, his Meat Mountain puppet continued to hunt down the members of the Sky Dome Guild. At this time, Xinfeng had already gone offline. Xinfeng flew up from the Evil Spirit Academy, and the death wings behind him spread out, taking him to the center of the Magic City at a speed of more than 1 kilometer per second. Reality. The center of the Magic City, in an abandoned park next to the ruins of a shopping mall. It has long been a mess, with large trees lying on the ground, and huge and bright mushrooms growing everywhere. It is said that some masters wanted to experience the taste of these mushrooms, and picked them up and cooked them for consumption. As a result, after eating them, their lifespans dropped drastically. Originally, this abandoned park was already a paradise for many monsters. But now, under the cover of the Scarlet Mist, those monsters have all become corpses? How is it? Have you found anyone? In the Red Mist, a group of players are gathering together, all observing the surroundings with serious expressions. Among them is an old woman in a gray robe, who is closing her eyes and manipulating her summons thousands of spiders. She is the scout of the Shuang YY team, and her profession is Black Sky Widow. She can summon thousands of spiders, which is enough to know the situation within a 20-kilometer range. These small spiders can even get wet. In silence, the whole area around the abandoned park has been scouted by the spiders. Even under the surface of the Huangpu River, many spiders have sneaked in, but unfortunately, the opponent is permanently invisible underwater, and the invisibility level has reached level 9. Although this Black Sky Widow has learned several anti-invisibility skills, the anti-invisibility level is only level 7, and her spiders have not been able to find the target. Not found yet. The old lady Black Sky Widow shook her head solemnly. Beside her were other team members, all of whom looked unhappy. After all, this time, they were originally going out to deal with the low-health Emerald level Ba, but they were suddenly attacked by a Meat Mountain puppet. Caught off guard, 4 people were killed instantly. In real action, the risk is still too great. The team leader Shuang YY, a middle-aged man, was looking at a place not far away with a gloomy face. Her wife, Bubblefish, is a very gentle woman who is closing her eyes and focusing on a Meat Mountain puppet more than 300 meters away. Bubblefish's occupation is a hidden occupation Beast Tamare, which can control ordinary monsters with lower levels than her. Now she can control nearly 200 monsters at level 20. At this moment, the Meat Mountain puppet is more than 100 monsters controlled by her, attacking crazily. Under the siege of more than 100 monsters, the action of the Meat Mountain puppet has become quite difficult. It is enough to see that the Bubblefish team is not weak, but they suffered a loss from the sneak attack, which caused them to lose 4 people. It's useless. That Meat Mountain puppet seems to have no health bar. No matter how you attack, it can recover. The middle-aged woman Bubblefish said calmly, "My monsters are constantly being killed. I have replenished more than 100 monsters. The surrounding monsters will soon be consumed. The corpses of that Meat Mountain puppet are mostly from Sakura country. The opponent is very likely to be from Sakura country. If we can't find his body, we can't deal with him. Everyone's face is not very good." Fortunately, at this time, the communication crystal ring on their wrist sent some information from the guild channel. It is said that Shadow has learned about the situation here and is rushing over. Our current situation, even if it is Brother Shadow, it will be difficult to deal with it. Right? Shuang YY. Bubblefish and others all sighed. That's right. The Meat Mountain puppet cannot be killed, and the enemy's body cannot be found. It's too difficult. Shadow is good at killing people, but it's not easy to find people in such a large area. It's hard to say. Maybe the opponent is hidden next to us. It is said that Shadow's anti-stealth level is extremely high. If the opponent is invisible, he will definitely not escape Shadow's observation. But will the opponent stay outside so carelessly? If he finds an underground area to hide, how easy will it be to find the opponent? It's not that they underestimate Qinfeng, but these are the thoughts of normal people. The opponent hides and does not show up, only letting the Meat Mountain puppet come out to fight. And the Meat Mountain puppet cannot be completely killed. No matter how you think about it, it's hard to deal with it by Shadow alone. However, just when they thought so, they were so happy. Suddenly, the middle-aged woman Bubblefish suddenly opened her eyes. Fuck! Her behavior startled the people around her, and they immediately became alert. Even a priest had already started to refresh the team shield, and in just 5 seconds, he refreshed the shield of 1000% of the upper limit of the health value for all team members. What's going on? Shuang YY was a little depressed. He knew that his wife never swore unless she couldn't help it. The Meat Mountain puppet is good like dead. Bubblefish was extremely shocked. Due to the red fog, others could not see the situation on the Meat Mountain puppet's side. But Bubblefish, with the help of the monsters controlled by her subordinates, just saw the Meat Mountain puppet. which was besieged by her monsters, suddenly stopped all its movements. Originally, the pieces of flesh that merged into the Meat Mountain puppet kept shouting Sakura language, like flies. Beat me to death. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts so much. Aiku. But in a flash, all those corpses and pieces of flesh shut up. They even let the monsters around them tear them apart without making any noise. This made Bubblefish wonder, could it be that the owner of the Meat Mountain puppet was killed? For a moment, Bubblefish controlled her more than 100 monsters, and the monsters stared at each other, looking at the corpses and pieces of flesh that were torn apart, and were extremely confused. Just then, suddenly, with a bang, a bloody figure suddenly fell from the sky and hit Shuang Wai, Bubblefish and the others heavily in front of him. When they took a closer look, they found that it was a long-haired young man wearing leather armor, and his legs and hands had been cut off by a sharp weapon. He was covered in blood, but he was still breathing. This was due to the fact that this guy had a good physical attribute extracted from reality. He could still breathe, even if his hands and feet were cut off, and even if he was not hit in the vital parts. He could still survive for a long time. Then, a cold and eerie figure appeared and fell from the air. The iconic death wings behind him had revealed the identity of the person, Shadow. Dozens of people from Bubblefish and Shuang Wai's team were all shocked. They looked at Qinfeng, and then at the half-dead long-haired young man thrown in front of them, and their brains crashed. How is it possible? Didn't Shadow just come out less than half a minute ago, even if it's more than 30 kilometers from the hiding place to us? In less than half a minute, not only did they rush over, but they also found the murderer and subdued him. For a moment, the dozens of people in the team all felt incredible. Qinfeng's method completely exceeded their expectation, even exceeded their imagination. At the same time, it also completely exceeded the expectations of the long-haired young man, Matsushita Hikun, whose hands and feet were cut off at this time. Can be said to be as desperate as he can be. Just a moment ago, he was still dreaming of killing Shadow and reaching the peak of his life. Suddenly, he became like this, completely losing his ability to fight. It's like one step to heaven and one step to hell. The surprise came too fast, catching Matsushita Riku off guard. At this moment, the long-haired young man had completely lost the unruly he had a moment ago, and was replaced by a painful tremor all over his body, a fear that he was going to die. Originally, his confidence was that his percentage of instant death affix could kill Shadow, and he himself could hide in the water. He was confident that unless Daxius sent a large force to search, it would be impossible to find his trace. After all, his stealth level had reached level 9, and he deliberately hid in the water of the Huangpu River among the current players. He is indeed considered top-notch, but how could he know that Qinfeng had seen through the level 30 stealth level thief William Scott in the Sichuan Ruins area a long time ago? The most important thing is that he can disguise his appearance as a monster with 3 prongs. He didn't believe that anyone could find him. But what he didn't expect was Qinfeng didn't rely on his eyes to find someone. It is a higher level of Umbra perception. You are disguised as a monster, but you are still a humanoid object in essence. So for Qinfeng's perception, there is no difference in this aspect. At this moment, not only are both hands and feet of this Matsushita Sundog cut off, but most importantly, he also has various negative states: Abyss Slowness Curse, Abyss Silence Curse, Abyss Withering Curse. Under the effect of these 3 curses, this long-haired young man almost lost all his combat and behavioral abilities. Even his Meat Mountain puppet could not be controlled because it was silenced. And during this time, Qinfeng also took out 2 other Abyss skills from the Abyss Vase. An Abyss Voodoo Doll. This can create a ragdoll based on the target. The ragdoll itself has no health bar, but can withstand negative states. Any negative state released on the ragdoll can be transferred to the target body intact. Of course, the higher the target level and the higher the attribute, the more life will be consumed to create a ragdoll. And this ragdoll has a duration and an upper limit on the negative state it can withstand. It has to be said that this is a very powerful skill, but it is a pity that it is not very useful to Qinfeng. So after evolving it to the ancient level, Qinfeng continued to take out the vase. This time the skill he took out was useful. Abyss Gaze Curse Epic. Abyss Curse skill. No occupation restriction. Curse any player within the site, only single target. You can view all occupational characteristics, talents, equipment, skills that are not higher than the skill level. And you can view the target's storage space. Players who are gazed at by the Abyss will have all attributes reduced by 30%. This effect can be actively chosen not to take effect. Used to consume life? The higher the target level and the higher the attribute, the more life will be consumed. You can directly view the target's occupation, talent, equipment, skills, and even the attribute panel and storage space. Before this, Qinfeng had never used this skill, because using this skill requires continuous consumption of life. If it is not necessary, Qinfeng is too lazy to check the skill attributes of other people's equipment. But this time, in order to avoid some insidious means of this Matsushita Sundog, Qinfeng could still use this skill to observe before finding the target and taking action. Facts have proved that Qinfeng's caution is right in just a few seconds. Qinfeng consumed more than 5 years of life and saw all the means of Matsushita Sundog. Wow. There is a cursed stone tablet of the goddess of death. Qinfeng was happy after reading it. Touching. So touching. He actually came from afar to give himself the ancient Godstone tablet. Qin Feng was just looking at it. There were too few ancient Godstone tablets. Not enough. Isn't it just that someone gave him a pillow when he just fell asleep? And this cursed stone tablet was used by Matsushita Sundog on his necklace. His necklace is a diamond-grade pendant with an active special effect. After it is turned on, it will gain 30 points of instant death affixes around range, 240 meters, which will last for 12 seconds and cool down for 60 seconds. After using the Cursed Slate of the Goddess of Death, an effect is obtained. Curse of the Goddess of Death. Ye Lian. Benefit affix. After the special effect is turned on, a 30% percentage instant death scale is applied to surrounding enemies every second. Very negative affix. The duration of the special effect is halved, and the range is halved. And Matsushita Hitoshi's profession is just an ordinary assassin. His Meat Mountain puppet comes from his talent, Mountain Creation. He can fuse the corpses of players into a Meat Mountain puppet. The more player corpses are fused, the stronger the Meat Mountain puppet attribute is, the higher the strength. The Meat Mountain puppet shares all the buff states with him. There is an invincible Meat Mountain puppet that can recover no matter what damage it receives. It can also share the instant death affix surround effect of the diamond and level pendant, in addition to the percentage instant death affix provided by the Cursed Slate. Although the instant death affix surround special effect has a certain range, as long as the shadow appears and chops his Meat Mountain puppet. The Meat Mountain puppet will automatically form a binding field, trapping the enemy in space and unable to escape. Matsushita Hikun concluded that even if the shadow came, he had the confidence to kill the shadow, but he never expected it. Qin Feng didn't go to find his invincible Meat Mountain puppet at all. Instead, he came directly and grabbed his body. In just a moment, various abyss curses fell on him. And before this guy could react, the knife light from the surrounding water cut off his hands and feet, and then he was lifted out of the water. A moment later, he was thrown in front of Shuang Weiwei, Bubblefish, and the others, and entered a state of dying struggle. The reason why he didn't just kill this guy, it can be regarded as an explanation to the Sky Guild. At least they have to know who the culprit is, no matter what. The Sky Guild still brought Qin Feng a lot of life benefits. His name is Matsushita Hikun. Sakura, man. Qin Feng landed in front of everyone, looked at the shocked people, and kicked Matsushita Hikun on the ground. I will investigate it later to see if this is his personal behavior or the instigation of the Sakura official. Before that, you can do whatever you want, just don't kill him. After saying this, the death wings behind Qin Feng unfolded, taking him to the Meat Mountain puppet not far away. Soon, Hein Feng barely separated the bodies of 4 members of the Sky Guild from the Meat Mountain puppet. The dead were 2 men and 2 women. Qin Feng looked at their twisted and pale faces. They died due to the sudden attack. They did not experience pain in their death, but their minds after death merged with the entire Meat Mountain puppet, becoming crazy and tortured. Looking at this scene, Qin Feng suddenly thought of something. If the Blue Star civilization sublimates in the future, will these dead people still have a chance to break away from civilization and enter reincarnation alone? The people who were judged by me have already broken away from reincarnation and cannot be reborn. This means that my authority of judgment is higher than the rules of civilization, reincarnation. If I completely master the authority of judgment, it should be easy to let these dead people reborn or something. Just when Qin Feng thought so, the white bud blade in his hand suddenly sent him a soul message. Wow, there are so many suffering souls here. Aren't we going to harvest them? Baya sent a compact and urgent soul message. Qin Feng was not in a hurry to harvest souls, but since Baya spoke up, Qin Feng asked casually, "You are an expert in playing with souls. Is there a way to bring people back to life?" Originally, Qin Feng just asked with a try-it-out mentality, but unexpectedly, Baya looked very puzzled. You can use soul harvesting to collect souls, then connect the human body and send the soul in. Right? Qin Feng was stunned. So simple. Baya. Of course it won't work if it's been dead for too long. The higher the physical fitness of others, the longer they can last. The higher the spirit, the longer the soul can stay active. Try it yourself. Qin Feng was troubled by this long string of soul information. Can't you add punctuation marks and communicate normally? Baya cried. There is no lifespan. Dear, how about you give some... Qin Feng. I didn't say anything. In short, through the communication with Baya, Qin Feng thought of one thing. For those who hold the power of the soul, resurrecting people doesn't seem to be a difficult thing. The higher the target's spiritual attribute, the longer the soul stays active and the higher the activity. The higher the target's physical attribute, the longer the pseudo-death state can last. Then Qin Feng looked at the 4 bodies, separated from the Meat Mountain puppet. If what Baya said is true, then if we move faster, maybe we can still save them. Qin Feng thought about it and decided to give it a try. He raised his hand and threw out the Baya blade. I can't see souls. You collect the souls of the 4 players in our country. Souls do not belong to matter. Even if Qin Feng has the ability to perceive the shadow, he cannot sense the existence of souls, under the condition that he can't see the target. Qin Feng doesn't even have the target to launch the soul harvest. So naturally he can't collect the souls. Fortunately, Baya is good at this. When Qin Feng threw out the Baya blade, Baya didn't say anything, and directly cut one by one, crossing 4 positions in the air in front. collected the souls of the 4 players of the Sky Guild that were about to float away and disperse. This wave directly consumed 800 points of Qinfeng's divinity. According to the calculation that the White Bud Blade replenishes 1 point every 15 years of life, Qinfeng used up 72,000 years of life in just 2 seconds. It would be a lie to say that I didn't feel sorry. But on the one hand, these are his own people. On the other hand, Qinfeng now really wants to see what Bai Ya said about resurrection. However, if their souls are to be sent back to their bodies later, wouldn't it be a waste of my life? The souls I collected are gone, and I didn't stack the death affix? Qinfeng sighed. There is no way. The loss of these lifespans can only be passed on to the Sakura country. Of course, for Qinfeng, he can't trust Bai Ya's words, and he must see what she does next. If it works, it will be considered as a verification that she has the ability to resurrect people. If it doesn't work, Qinfeng has also collected 4 souls in the White Bud Blade, which will not be a loss. However, before they could really save the 4 people, they had to reassemble their bodies. Qinfeng brought the bodies of the 4 people back to Shuang Wai and the others. At this time, dozens of people in Shuang Wai's team had taken turns to carry out an inhumane siege on Matsushita Japanese dog in order to prevent him from being killed. The priest in the team even kept treating him before taking action. Get out of my way. Brother Shadow only cut off 4 of his legs, which was too easy for him. I'll grill his 5th leg. It's conceivable how angry Shuang Wai and his team were when the team members who had been together day and night were killed. But when Qinfeng came back, everyone stopped their actions consciously. It's not that they had vented enough. It's that the person was already dead, and it was useless to vent anymore. They were filled with righteous indignation, and they only hoped that Qinfeng could give Sakura country a taste of his own medicine later. And when Qinfeng came back to them, there was a flame burning vigorously between the 2 broken legs of Matsushita Hichiko. But this man was controlled by Qinfeng's various abyss curses, and he couldn't even scream without being able to release it. All the pain he endured almost doubled. Don't worry about him for now. Qinfeng didn't waste time and said to Shuang Wai directly, "Save your people. Do you have the skills to heal broken limbs? They may not be dead yet." This made Shuang Wai and others a little confused. After all, the names of these 4 dead people are, they have disappeared from the guild channel, so how can they say they are not dead? Although they thought it was strange. But after all, it was Shadow who said it, so they obeyed without any hesitation. Moreover, even if Qinfeng had not said so, they would definitely have to prepare the remains of their companions before taking them back. Fortunately, the Shuang Wai team is now ranked in the top 10 in the Sky Dome Guild. The priest of their team can refresh the full shield of 1000% of the health value of the group in half a second, which shows that their priests are very strong. Once upon a time, Qin Xiaoyu broke his legs and was in great pain. But for the priests of the Shuang Wai team at this stage, this is just a very easy part. It just takes time. And now, what they lack most is time. Qinfeng also doesn't know how long these 4 dead people can last with their attributes. Is it too late to revive? Just when several priests were treating the corpses at the fastest speed, Qinfeng came to Matsushita Hikun and squatted down. Your talent is making mountains? You can use corpses to make meat, mountain puppets. This talent is not very good, but it is good for torturing people. Soon, this talent will be mine. I wonder if you have relatives in Sakura country. Killing all your relatives and making them into meat mountain puppets should be fun, right? Originally, Matsushita Hikun was just in pain. He knew he was in trouble, but he didn't take it too seriously. After all, he was ready to sacrifice when he went to war, but he never expected. This shadow in front of him sounded like it could take away his talent. He also had to find his relatives and use his talent to deal with his relatives. The silenced Matsushita Hikun suddenly struggled hard and shook his head vigorously. Unfortunately, he was cursed by the slowness of the abyss, slowing down by 99%. His movements were slower than those of a snail, and he could not even be seen struggling. At this time, Matsushita Hitoshi's eyes were pierced, but the pain in his body was far less than his fear of Qinfeng's revenge, because he has a beloved sister in Sakura country. Not long after, the bodies of the 4 dead of the Sky Dome Guild were almost restored, and the healing holy white light bathed them, allowing their internal organs to recover at an extremely fast speed. This is also due to the fact that their own physical attributes are higher than those of ordinary people, so their cells are more active and easier to recover. If converted to the game, it is a percentage recovery. The more blood you have, the more blood you recover per second. And Qinfeng is communicating with Bai Ya. According to this woman, if you really want to resurrect someone, it is actually not that simple. The reason these 4 people can be resurrected is that they are not really dead. According to Bai Ya, the definition of death is to disappear from this world and no longer exist. If you really die, then even the reincarnation of civilization cannot be reborn and will be erased by this world. She also asked, do you really think that the reality you are in is the real reality? Qinfeng wanted to ask more, but Bai Ya didn't dare to say it because it involves some higher level things. In short, this kind of resurrection is not a real resurrection. But to achieve this kind of resurrection, a lot of life is consumed. These guys have been dead for a few minutes. Fortunately, they are weak and their souls are not strong. Resurrection does not consume much. 140, 1000 plus a 70, 1000 plus 130, 1000 plus 160, 1000, a total of 600. 1,000 years of life. I know you can't take it out now, so remember to pay me back later. Bai Ya sent continuous soul information while distressedly activating her ability. After receiving the soul information from her, Qin narrowed his eyes. This resurrection that Bai Ya said, the cost is so high. Qin felt something was wrong. After all, he killed someone with the Judgment Blade and then sent him out. In a sense, it was also a resurrection, which only consumed 20 points of divinity. I don't know if what she said is true or not anyway. I have to verify the resurrection she said. If Bai Ya really has the ability to resurrect people, then it is definitely necessary to see the situation first. Even if it consumes a lot, it is worth a try. Anyway, it is not Qin life that is consumed. In other words, this made Qin realize one thing. Isn't this Bai Ya a rich woman? Then can you be a rich woman, hungry, and eat? However, she said that it would take 600,000 years, which may not really consume so much. Don't be fooled by her, and never fall into a woman's trap. Qin didn't trust this woman. However, seeing that Bai Ya is still as lively as she is now, at least her identity as a rich woman is not to be escaped. This made Qin think, is there any way to get some life out of her? If Bai Ya knew this idea, this girl would probably curse, stinky man. No conscience. When the 4 corpses were almost recovered, Qin began to pay attention to Bai Ya's operation. Compared with the suspicion of the Shuang YY team, Qin remained calm. Perhaps some people think that these 4 people should not be saved, and saving them would be a saint. However, Bai Ya said everything about the resurrection. She said it cost 600,000 yuan, but maybe it only took 60 years. Maybe it's not so exaggerated. But Qin himself is LYB. He can't just believe the other party casually. Admittedly, she said that she can be resurrected, so it is most likely that she can be resurrected. Are there any sequelae? Bai Ya did not say clearly. If you don't test it now, Qin will not dare to let her do it when he really wants to resurrect people around him in the future. If there are any side effects of this resurrection, Qin can also take precautions in advance. In addition, the reason for resurrecting 4 people instead of just 1 person is that there are more samples and more accurate observations. And resurrection sounds simple. Just put the soul back into the body. But in the end, it still needs the power of the soul. I can't do it. Qin looked at the scene calmly. In the final analysis, this was Bai Ya's ability, not Qin own ability, so it was not too cautious. Thinking about it this way, Bai Ya's motive was very obvious. She just wanted to take the initiative to show her ability, so as to gain the right to speak with Qin. In the future, if someone around Qin died and needed to be resurrected, then Bai Ya could ask for a lot of things. No one really thought that Bai Ya consumed her own life just to help Qin save these 4 seemingly insignificant people, right? Just use your brain and you will know. How could a small power holder like Bai Ya be a naive person? What's more, she said that it would take 600,000 years, but it didn't mean that it would really take 600,000 years. Anyway, Qin didn't have the ability to resurrect others, so wasn't it up to Bai Ya to decide how much it would take? Even children know not to trust strangers casually, and the current Bai Ya to Qin is just a stranger who is a little familiar. The existence of souls is invisible to Qin and the people of the Shuang YY team. However, Qin can feel that the 4 souls he just collected in his Bai Ya blade have escaped from the control of the Bai Ya blade. Suddenly, one of the corpses in front of him jumped up on the spot. Who am I? Where am I? This is a young man with a buzz cut, a hidden profession Dartman. When he jumped up, Shuang YY and others around him all widened their eyes. Little unbelievable. Xiaobiao. You are Xiaobiao. Don't you remember? Someone came up and pressed his shoulders and shook him hard. Oh, I remember. I was not ambushed. Oh, buddy, thank you. I thought I was dead. And you saved me again? The buzz-cut youth scratched his head. The man opposite sighed, said nothing, held his shoulder, and asked him to turn around and face Qin. It was Shadow who saved you. If you want to say thank you, say it to Shadow. Dark Shadow. The young man with the short haircut who had just resurrected didn't know what he had experienced. But when he saw Qin his eyes lit up. I have a friend who is your idol. Can you sign my clothes? Someone laughed immediately. No. Your friend is Shadow's idol. Did you ask Brother Shadow to sign your clothes? Someone else said. Silly Biao. The friend you are talking about is you. Then, the other 3 people also opened their eyes with different reactions, and then stood up. This scene shocked Shuang YY and others. Qin waited for the 4 people to stand up, and then invited them to form a team. Qin invitation to form a team is very rare. The 4 of them were stunned at first, and then they all subconsciously clicked to agree. Blend into the darkness. Qin raised his hand and used a skill, so that he and the 4 of them were shrouded in darkness, and entered a state of invisibility that no one could see. Just now, the 4 of them had learned that they were killed by a sneak attack from a person from the Sakura country, but the arrival of the shadow made them suddenly alive again. They were a little confused. Qin pulled them into the team, and after letting them become invisible together, he asked, "How do you feel? Is there anything unusual?" The 4 of them looked at each other, but the short-haired young man, Silly Bio, scratched his head, thought about it, and said, "I seem to be dreaming that there is a noble and sacred existence in front of me, maybe a god or something, I can't see clearly. But it seems that I looked into a pair of eyes, then I woke up. I think I'm the same. Those eyes are so dazzling. They almost blinded me. The three people next to him also nodded immediately, indicating that they had encountered the same situation. However, they quickly said that they didn't feel anything unusual at the moment. Han Feng nodded. Then he put away the white bud blade, holding the judgment blade. He slashed at the arms of the four people one by one. At this moment, the four of them were killed, but they appeared on the scene again in the blink of an eye. They didn't even realize what happened. This is Qin Feng using the judgment blade to send them into the judgment land, and then sent them out in an instant this way. The judgment land can mark them. From now on. The actions of these four people will be completely monitored by Qin Feng, just like the engraver Dominic from Florida who went to Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. Since he was not sure whether these four people would have any abnormalities, Han Feng could only use this method to ensure that there would be no problems in the future. And all this was naturally avoided by Bai Ya's perception. In addition, if they were in the game, these four people would get a prompt that they were killed by the shadow. But now it's reality, so there will be no system prompts when they are killed. For them, it's as if nothing happened. That's fine. After Qin Feng finished this, he raised his hand and cancelled the invisibility status of him and the four people. And because they just became invisible, Shuang Wai and others didn't know what happened. They can be teamed up and can also receive buffs, so they should be back to normal. Qin Feng waved his hand and asked the four to leave the team. Shuang Wai, Bubblefish, and the people behind them were all in tears, and even the boyfriends and girlfriends of the resurrected rushed up to hug them tightly. However, everyone was extremely confused. Shuang Wai was shocked. Shadow Boss, what's going on? They are back from the dead. Hearing this, Qin Feng shook his head. Not really. They were not dead in the first place. This has something to do with this guy's talent, Qin Feng said, while kicking Matsushita Hichiko on the ground twice. Seeing Shuang Wai's puzzled face, Qin Feng continued, because they were killed by this guy's talent. They were temporarily mixed with others, so they were judged to be dead. But if this person is killed in time, or silenced, and his skills are sealed, he will not be able to control his Meat Mountain puppet and can rescue the people involved. They are not dead. They can wake up as long as their bodies are healed, right? Han Feng kicked Matsushita Hikan again. The long-haired young man from Sakura Country was completely confused after hearing this. What is this? And Shadow asked him if it was right. He couldn't answer because he was 99% slowed down. What's more, Qin Feng said so. Even if he could answer, he would definitely just nod and say, yes. After all, Qin Feng's threat to him just now made him terrified from the bottom of his heart. Now he knows that he can't survive. He only hopes Qin Feng can let his family go. Everyone in the Shuang Wai team still believed Qin Feng's statement. After all, they didn't see Qin Feng do anything from just now to now. Qin Feng just brought back their body parts, and then their priest helped to splice and assemble them. Compared to saying that Qin Feng resurrected them, obviously, it is more reasonable to blame it all on Matsushita Hikan. Under the current circumstances, Qin Feng naturally couldn't let the news that he could resurrect others spread. This ability is too shocking, and there is no benefit in spreading it. Then the matter is resolved. Qin Feng ignored Shuang Wai and others who reunited. Instead, he took out the white bud blade from his backpack, and finally swung it out, killing the long-haired young man Matsushita Hikan. This time, Qin Feng used the divine rule of soul harvesting. With 1200 points of divinity, that is 18,000 years of life. The soul of Matsushita Hikan was collected in the white bud blade. In this way, Qin Feng superimposed 10 points of instant death affixes, and could also check the memory of Matsushita Hikan at any time. Then, I saw that a pale white eye suddenly opened on Qin Feng's and Navia's feather gloves, the eye of surgery. Qin Feng half crouched in front of Matsushita Hikan's body and put his hand on the back of the body. I saw that from the pale white eye. Many pale white tentacles extended, drilled into the surrounding corpses, and began to absorb something. This scene made Qin Feng's scalp numb. This eye of surgery is really weird. However, it was only 2 seconds later. You activated the order Eye of Surgery. This order entered a 24-hour cooling. You plundered the talent mountain building. This is the first time Qin Feng used this order method since he just threatened Matsushita Hikan. Qin Feng naturally did what he said. Let's take a look at the talent first. Congratulations on your talent. Mountain building. Mountain building. Emerald level talent can be released on player corpses to fuse player corpses into one Meat Mountain puppet. The attributes of this Meat Mountain puppet are 1/3 of the total attributes of all corpses. Meat Mountain puppet. After being shattered, it has the ability to recover infinitely and can share all the buffs and some special effects from the master, but its speed is reduced by 50%. Fusion limit. Meat Mountain puppet can initially fuse one player corpse each time you upgrade. You can fuse one more player corpse, but skill birth. Every time 5 player corpses are fused, Meat Mountain puppet will activate a new skill. The order is Bite, Meat Hook, Rotten Aura, Meat Bomb Chariot. Passive extra inheritance of 50% of the master's full attributes. Passive inherit 100% of the master's upper affixes. Meat Mountain explosion, etc. For this talent, how should I say? Qin Feng doesn't like it very much. After all, what Qin Feng hopes to obtain is the talent that can increase his combat power and attributes, but this talent is quite interesting. And to be honest, it is definitely not weak. I am now level 35. I can fuse up to 35 corpses and unlock the 7 skills of the Meat Mountain Puppet. Maybe because Qinfeng cannot unlock the 8th skill. He doesn't know what the 8th skill is. Qinfeng took a quick look. The first few skills are not very useful, but inheriting 50% of Qinfeng's full attributes, and inheriting 100% of Qinfeng's upper level affixes. The effect is quite good. When Qinfeng allocates 1 point to each upper level affix, and the rest to the instant death affix, his instant death affix can be nearly 200 points, and then double it with Shadow Warp. It is nearly 400 points. Whether it is used to kill people or kill monsters, it is awesome. If he gets this talent, Qinfeng will at least have another way to level up. Just like the Abyss puppet he created, he can disperse and gain experience compared to combat ability. This talent can make me level up faster. It's not bad to use for the time being. Qinfeng was not in a hurry to find other talents. After looking at the body of Matsushita Japanese dog in front of him, he raised his hand and directly released the talent mountain creation. Then, Qinfeng saw his body begin to twist, all his limbs turned in an incredible direction, and then expanded, and soon rolled into a small ball with a diameter of less than half a meter. This is the first corpse of the Meat Mountain Puppet, so the deformation and dismemberment will be very serious. But the later the corpse, the smaller the deformation. At the same time, when Qinfeng obtained the mountain creation talent, he also obtained a Meat Mountain Puppet space. He can take the Meat Mountain Puppet at any location into the space at any time. Among them, it is just like the Mount space and Pet space. Qinfeng raised his hand and put away the small Meat Mountain Puppet first. Then he looked at the body of the original Matsushita Sundog, and a piece of ancient Godstone tablet appeared. The ancient Godstone tablet is something that will not be destroyed when the player dies. If the player extracts the equipment with attributes attached by the ancient Godstone tablet to reality, then after the death in reality, the ancient Godstone tablet will fall in reality. This is only effective in reality, in the game. Only when the player is killed. All the life of the player is exposed, and he enters a state of complete death. The ancient Godstone tablet on the player will fall. Qinfeng reached out to pick it up. The cursed stone tablet of the Goddess of Death? Man, what a good thing. Although the ancient Godstone tablet adds items to the equipment completely randomly, it also has some different tendencies according to different ancient gods. The attributes attached to the stone tablet of the Goddess of Death are mostly related to lethality. At present, the energy of this stone slab is full. Qinfeng did not hesitate and used it directly on the Blade of Judgment. Fuck! It exploded. When the system prompt came, Qinfeng's face was happy. Death Goddess Yilian's Curse. Benefit affix. Assassin skill level increased by 12 levels. Negative affix. Total physical value reduced by 15%. Do you want to keep this curse? Yes, no. Needless to say, just keep the effect. Then Qinfeng looked at his attribute panel, calculated a little, and concluded that this 12-level skill level increased his final output by more than half. It was even greater than the previous increase when Aishashi's forced him to upgrade his skills to level 35. After all, most of Qinfeng's main skills were originally close to level 30. If it was upgraded to level 35, many skills were actually only upgraded by 5 levels. But this time, the Curse of the Goddess of Death, Yelian, gave Qinfeng a 12-level full assassin skill level, which naturally improved more. However, the negative effect of this curse made Qinfeng's already pitiful physical attributes even more pitiful. After the agility training was improved, the agility attribute reached 170 point due to the 3-phase balance. The strength and spirit were also improved so much. But now my physical fitness is only 2986 points. Qinfeng was a little amused. The original health value of more than 500,000 is now only more than 380,000 points. And the value of physical defense has changed from more than 100,000 to only 425 points. And the physical damage reduction effect has been reduced from the original 99, 15% to 98. 77%. From this damage reduction percentage, it seems that there is not much change, but in fact, after the final calculation, the physical damage Qinfeng suffered has increased by 44.7%. Of course, although this curse made Qinfeng vulnerable, it didn't make him easier to kill. After all, this curse didn't affect Qinfeng's injury limit, dodge, and the most important dodge blood recovery effect. On the contrary, because of the improvement of skill level, Qinfeng's dodge was improved. Qinfeng looked at his dodge rate. It has reached 99 or 86%, which means that it takes an average of 1945, 83 attacks to hit Qinfeng once. Basically, it can be said that it is an extremely low probability event to attack and hit Qinfeng, unless the attacker has enough hit corrections. However, even if I turn on the Eye of Destiny, the hit correction is only 228 times. That is to say, even if I want to hit myself, the probability of hitting myself is only about 1 in 8. 5. Of course, this is the case when Qinfeng did not actively stack the hit correction. Otherwise, it would not be too difficult for him to stack the hit to hit himself. For example, among the skills that were swallowed by the Soul Devourer, there are many that increase the hit rate correction. If those skills are released, Qinfeng's hit rate correction can directly exceed 1,000 times. But it is not necessary at present for Qinfeng temporarily keeping those skills in the state of being swallowed by the soul, so that Qinfeng's 4-dimensional attributes can be converted into more combat attributes. The benefits are higher. Why are Qinfeng's attributes so abnormal? Soul Devourer Bloodline is definitely the most critical one. Otherwise, Qinfeng's attack, defense, elemental resistance, etc. will be reduced by more than 5 times. After dealing with the matter of Matsushita Japanese dog, Qinfeng separated from Shuang Weiwei and the others. After Qinfeng left, everyone in the Shuang Weiwei team talked excitedly. The Shadow Boss said he wanted to take away this little Rizi's talent, and he really took it away. That's awesome. The boss made this little Rizi into a Meat Mountain puppet. Will he go to Sakura country and devour more people next? I don't know what relatives this little Rizi has. Hey, he's going to suffer a lot. Why are you sad? It's just a little Rizi. The more suffering, the better. How dare he invade our great Xia? He's tired of living. I'm not sad. I just think it's a pity. If there's a pretty girl, wouldn't it be a bit of a waste? You bastard. You want a pretty girl, right? No. My dear wife, I dare not. I just said it's a waste. Not that I want it. The members were talking about it. But as the leader, Shuang Weiwei is not so relaxed. As he led everyone back to the hideout, he thought, although we have the help of Shadow Boss this time, we can't bother him every time if we are attacked again next time. We won't be so lucky. We still have to get stronger. Moreover, if it is not necessary, we should try to leave the hideout as little as possible in reality. Next time we open the boss, we must guard the crack passage to reality. The reason why the strong are strong is that they are willing to reflect. Even if they have successfully completed a task, they will think about whether they can do better. At this time, Qinfeng was also reflecting. I reflect on myself 3 times a day, which is a traditional virtue of Daxia. But what Qinfeng reflected on was, am I too polite to Sakura country? Am I giving Sakura country face? Should I take action? Because on the way back, Baya said that she was tired and took a rest first, so Qinfeng checked the soul memory of Matsushita Sundog and found that this guy's coming here this time was not his personal behavior, because it would be difficult for him to enter Daxia quietly by himself. He followed a Chamber of Commerce in Sakura country and came here on a large cargo ship. And the president of the Chamber of Commerce also knew the purpose of Matsushita Hikari's coming to Daxia this time. A Chamber of Commerce president dared to deliberately send a killer to our Daxia. Lanfeng reflected on himself deeply. It was obvious that he was not convinced by them. In that case, let me make a horror movie for you. Qinfeng released the small Meat Mountain puppet made by Matsushita Hikari and used the Integrate into Darkness skill to make it invisible. Because this Meat Mountain puppet inherited Qinfeng's gain status and some special effects, Qinfeng discovered. Even if this Meat Mountain puppet launched an attack, it would not be visible. Then, Qinfeng let this Meat Mountain puppet roll directly to the Magic City harbor, and according to Matsushita Hikari's memory, it directly lurked on the large cargo ship that sent him here. According to that guy's memory, this large freighter will depart tonight and return to Sakura country. And because all parts of Blue Star are now divided into various violent and turbulent areas, the sailing routes are more complicated than before, much more complicated. Fortunately, due to the new technology brought by the Book of Divine Revelation, the speed of freighters, airplanes, etc. is faster than before. And they also have some defensive barriers that can resist small-scale monster attacks. If it is just a modification, the price is not expensive, and it can be completed in a few hundred years. Regarding the matter of Matsushita Nichi, Qinfeng can't just let Sakura country pay money and get away with it. Kill them first, kill them until they are afraid. Then the other party will take the initiative to propose higher compensation condition. When Qinfeng's Meat Mountain puppet arrives in Sakura country with the large freighter, all the crew members on the large freighter are already part of the Meat Mountain puppet. And then the horror begins for Qinfeng. This Meat Mountain puppet is not capable of attacking, but it is first class in bullying. With 50% of Qinfeng's attributes, the Meat Mountain puppet made by Qinfeng is many times stronger than the one made by Matsushita Nichi. In addition, Qinfeng learned that Matsushita Hikari's sister, Matsushita Xingyue, depended on this guy for life. However, Matsushita Xingyue's awakened profession is the hidden profession Soul Collector. This is a rare hidden profession, different from common hidden professions such as life sacrifice. The role of the Soul Collector is special. Basically, there are only 1 or 2 people in each country. There may be more people in Daxia, but they are basically under official control at present. For example, Qinfeng knows a Miss Luo in Daxia Kyoto through the Soul Collector. Take away the soul of the target player and control the player's life, so as to achieve the purpose of controlling the player. At the same time, it also has some other special abilities related to the soul. At present, this Matsushita Xingyue is officially included in the Sakura country and works for the Sakura country. Her status is very high. Therefore, she has always been mocking and teasing her brother Matsushita Hikari through Matsushita Hikari's memory. Qin knew that this young man loved his sister very much. But his sister had always been dissatisfied with him, especially after she changed her job to become a soul collector and became an important figure in Sakura country. She was even more arrogant in front of Matsushita Hikun. It was precisely because of this, Matsushita Hikun would be so desperate to come to Daxia to fight Qin. He wanted to prove himself in front of his sister. But this man didn't expect that his failure would trigger a terrifying storm that swept across the entire Sakura country. This chapter says that there is a current attribute chart of Qin. If you can't see the picture, you can follow the author and check author has something to say. As for his sister Songjia Xingyue, naturally, she was also targeted by Qin. Originally, Qin wanted to integrate this guy's sister directly into the Meat Mountain puppet to reunite the brother and sister. But after learning about Songjia Xingyue's profession, Qin had some other ideas. Evil Spirit Academy, underground area. Qin returned to the vicinity of the stone platform and saw Osiris and Aishaksisi still looking at the gray chicken, rolling in the magma. Hey, this dagger just resurrected a few people for me. Are there any sequelae of this resurrection? Qin came to Aishaksisi, touched her head and asked, I said I won't call you hello. Aishaksisi dodged and moved away vigilantly. She snorted lightly and looked at Qin with a pair of eyes that seemed to smile. Of course, this kind of resurrection has sequela, but why should I tell you? Really? Qin frowned. Compared to Baya, Qin definitely trusts Ashashi's. Although the one in front of him is called Aishashi's, it is also part of Ashashi's emotions after all. However, this Aishashi's is a little unwilling to be disciplined. If it is Ashashi's, she should not be a Riddler in this regard, right? Qin shook his head and didn't think much about it. Anyway, he can observe the situation of the four people at any time. Once there is any abnormality, he will be discovered immediately. Qin also came to the edge of the stone platform and sat down. When the gray chicken grows up, it's time to go to the old man, the god of skeletons. To chat, there is nothing to disturb him now, right? At the same time, in a gloomy and terrifying hall, there is a blood pool with red bubbles. Above the blood pool, there is a huge scarlet cross, on which is nailed a woman's body, covered in blood, with a hideous and painful expression. Suddenly, an old and hoarse voice came from outside the hall. Your Highness Wu Yue, it has been a month since the Blue Civilization began to merge, and finally there is news that the spokesperson we selected has not yet found any small authority. No response came from the hall, and the old man outside the door left after reporting. And in the blood pool in the hall, there is a woman soaking in it. It is Qin Wu Yue. A month. It's been more than a month since the last fusion of Blue Star Civilization. I don't know how Qin and Qin Xiaoyu are doing. Damn! In the last reincarnation, I only killed Qin Xiaoyu. In the last reincarnation, I didn't kill anyone. Qin Wu Yue closed her eyes, looking extremely cold and unhappy. In the last reincarnation, when she returned to the fused Blue Star Civilization, she learned that Qin profession was still a warrior. But he died in the hands of a mysterious man halfway. As for Qin Xiaoyu, he died only 2 months after Qin death. Originally, Qin Wu Yue was stable. She would return to Blue Star Civilization every 10 years and kill Qin and Qin Xiaoyu, which would give her a huge improvement. But for some reason in the last 2 reincarnations, Qin Wu Yue found that Qin could not survive to the end. What variables have changed? Is it because of that ancient god's eyeball? But this small power can affect the next reincarnation. Qin Wu Yue was a little confused. She even investigated the people who came to the Land of Order from the Blue Star Civilization in the previous life and never returned. For example, Tang Jun of Daxia and Master Tuchar of Tianzhu. These 2 people came from the previous life and are still developing in the Land of Order. Another example is a girl in Daxia, Kyoto, whose profession is the only hidden profession, Shadow. But this girl died in the hands of a monster when she went out of the Land of Order, so she died completely. The Shadow Girl in Daxia, Kyoto should be related to Tang Jun, but it should not have much to do with Qin and Qin Xiaoyu. Qin Wu Yue sighed. But she didn't know. It was the complete death of the girl with the profession Shadow that caused the Shadow profession in this life to be vacated, because Qin did not intend to protect Qin Xiaoyu anymore. He chose a hidden profession and was directly randomly assigned to the Shadow profession. Once Qin arrives at the Land of Order, the timeline will be very clear. In the previous life, Yanfeng got the eyeball of the ancient god and was killed by Qin Xiaoyu, which also attracted the attention of Ashashi's. In this life, the girl who got the Shadow profession died prematurely and failed to rise. In the previous life, Xinfeng did not retain his memory, but he got the power of judgment. However, in order to protect Qin Xiaoyu, he still chose the warrior profession. In the end, he was dragged down by Qin Xiaoyu and his development speed was not fast enough, so he was tested by Ashashi's. Test to kill. And the girl Shadow of this life successfully rose up and arrived at the Land of Order, but died in the Land of Order. The next is the current life. Xinfeng became a Shadow, activated the power of judgment, and obtained the original primary talent. At this time, Qin Wu Yue looked at her reincarnation gain status bar again. The reincarnation gain status is the gain status that can be obtained after passing various ancient god challenges. This kind of gain status cannot be eliminated or transferred, but at the same time, it is also dynamically changing. because this kind of gain can only be obtained during the reincarnation period. The gain value will also change according to the real-time ranking. For example, one of Qin Wuyue's reincarnation gain states came from the tomb of the God of Bones. After she obtained a small authority, she ranked 89th in the challenge of the God of Bones. At that time, the 89th Ancient God gain was an additional damage reduction attribute of 75%, which was equivalent to having an extra super high attribute out of thin air. But after more than 200 years, Qin Wuyue's skeleton God challenge ranking has fallen to 100th place, and the effect of this reincarnation buff has also been reduced to 60% damage reduction. If another person enters the top 100, I will be squeezed out of the top 100. The effect of this reincarnation buff is only 10% damage reduction, which is equivalent to just a consolation prize. Qin Wuyu is not in a good mood. After all, it is only a matter of time before her current results are squeezed out of the top 100. In fact, she still has a way to save it. That is, to return to the Blue Star civilization, reincarnate again, and in the process of reincarnation, get a higher score again. But how easy is that? After all, when she reincarnates again, she will lose all her memories of the God-forsaken game. Moreover, during this period of time, Qin Wuyu had gained far more benefits than these reincarnation gains by brushing Qin Feng and Qin Xiaoyu, so it was even more impossible for her to go back and restart if it really didn't work out. The person ahead of her would die or reincarnate, and her ranking would be able to move up one step. But this was purely based on luck, and the probability was also extremely low. Just then, Qin Feng returned to the entrance of the Tomb of the Skeleton God with his unsealed skeleton power ring. Open the door and step in. No matter what challenges there were in this tomb, Qin Feng must do his best. If there was a ranking list, his goal would be the same as the Road to the End first place. Additional update for this chapter. Please generate power for love. The ranking of power generation has dropped by dozens of places recently. TAT. Also, this chapter says there is an attribute calculation table. Well, it's just for everyone to see, indicating that the attributes and damage are always calculated. I thought about it recently, and if the attribute changes are relatively large in the future, I will post an attribute chart. For example, the previous chapter, Chapter 504, said that this chapter would make everyone more clear about Qin Feng's current attributes. If you can't see the picture, you can follow the author and check the author's words. God-forsaken game continent. Outside the Zhanghai ruins, the Tomb of the Skeleton God. The surrounding area has been officially protected by Zhanghai City, and players are not allowed to enter, so as not to affect Qin Feng. When Qin Feng came over, he found that this place had not changed much from the last time he left. It should be said that Director Dai, who did not want to reveal his name, was still very reliable. At this time, Qin Feng had used the unsealed skeleton power to enter the Tomb of the Skeleton God. After entering the tomb, Qin Feng appeared in a long corridor. The challenge player's level is detected to be level 35. The tomb level has been adjusted to level 35. Challenge goal. Please pass the skeleton road alive. Challenge reward. The skeleton road is 200 kilometers long. The shorter the time to pass the skeleton road, the higher the reward level. Warning. When you step onto the skeleton road, you will be attacked by the skeleton dragon, which will force you to reduce your movement speed flying speed skill, release speed by 90%. Enter the skeleton road, and the challenge will officially begin. Please prepare enough means to save your life, and I wish you good luck. When the system prompt came, Qin Feng was a little confused. Skeleton dragon. Where? Qin Feng looked at the corridor in front of him. If you look at it with the naked eye, this is an ordinary corridor. The 200-kilometer long corridor has no end at all. The corridor is about 10 meters wide, with eerie white bone walls on both sides. Every 100 meters on the wall, there is a white human skull, and a pale flame is lit in the skull, shining from the empty eye sockets, revealing eerie and weirdness. As for the feet, there are piles of white bones, pits and pits, not flat at all. When Qin Feng looked up, he found that he couldn't see the ceiling of this corridor with his naked eye. If he looked up, he could only see a dark space, but Qin Feng closed his eyes immediately. When Qin Feng used his umbra to sense the surrounding environment, the whole environment of this place became clear. This is clearly a canyon made of bones, not a corridor at all. The whole picture of the surrounding terrain appeared in Qin Feng's mind. This canyon made of bones is not closed at all, but an open, empty dark space. In that dark space, energy surged. Qin Feng could feel that the energy was extremely rich in instant death energy. Even if the player could fly up, and enter the dark area. There was only one way to die, and above the canyon more than 500 meters high. In that dark space, there were dozens of skeleton flying dragons, staring at Qin Feng, waiting for Qin Feng to start the challenge, and then launch a locked attack on Qin Feng. Good fellow. A 90% deceleration of the lock attack, if you are attacked by them along the way. How easy is it to fly over 200 kilometers quickly? Qin Feng knew that the 90% deceleration of the lock attack must be a divine rule. Whether it is dodge, inviolability, controlled release, or dominance, none of them can eliminate its effect. After all, this is the rule of this challenge. The rules set by the ancient gods are not something that ordinary abilities can resist. Moreover, although I have the order of Sniper Invalidation, attacks beyond 100 meters are ineffective against me. But this is a test from the ancient gods after all, and the attacks of those skeleton flying dragons are very likely to suppress the order. Qinfeng calculated a little. My current flying speed is 20% faster than running speed, and the fastest speed reaches more than 800 meters per second. But if it is decelerated by 90%, it will only be a little more than 180 meters per second. To fly 200 kilometers at this speed, it will take nearly 20 minutes at the fastest. Qinfeng shook his head. Due to the 90% deceleration effect, not only the movement speed and flying speed are reduced, but also the skill release speed. Therefore, Qinfeng's Shadowfold will also be decelerated, making it difficult to use it for acceleration. What's more, even if Qinfeng's Shadowfold has up to 88 charges, it is impossible to travel 200 kilometers directly. If you just want to survive, it shouldn't be difficult. But if you want to ensure the speed, Qinfeng sighed. He knew that he had to think of some underworld methods, since the attacks of those skeleton dragons will force me to slow down. Then if I kill them all, won't I be slowed down? Qinfeng thought subconsciously. Of course, for ordinary people, it is not easy to kill those skeleton dragons or simply impossible. Because even in the later stages, the attack distance of players is difficult to exceed 500 meters. Even if there is an attack distance of more than 500 meters, players have no idea where the skeleton dragons are. As for flying above the Bone Canyon, once you fall into darkness, you will be surrounded by boundless instant death energy. The deeper you go into the darkness, the stronger the instant death energy. If you want to go deep into the vicinity of the skeleton dragon, you will die countless times. But for Qinfeng is immune to instant death affixes. There are a total of 30 skeleton dragons, and each has 400 million HP. Wouldn't it be like slaughtering a pig to kill them? Qinfeng almost couldn't help but twist his mouth. This environment and a challenge are like tailor-made for him, as long as all the skeleton dragons are killed before the challenge begins. Wouldn't it be easier for Qinfeng to reach the end of the skeleton road than eating and drinking water? The road is smooth and unimpeded, without slowing down, and the speed can be increased to the maximum. Qinfeng looked at the road of bones in front of him. At this time, he had received the small rule prompts that followed. The range of the road to bones is outlined by a white cubic frame line. During the challenge, it is not allowed to leave the range, otherwise it will be considered a failure. But as long as you don't enter the range, the challenge will not start. The dark area in the sky is not included in the range of the road of bones. Therefore, as long as Qinfeng does not enter the range, the challenge will not start, and the skeleton dragons can be cleared in advance. In addition, the wall lights of the Road of Bones will periodically provide a defensive barrier to resist the attacks of the skeleton dragons, so if you want to pass quickly normally, you have to use the surrounding wall lights to resist the attacks of the skeleton dragons and move forward step by step to avoid being slowed down by 90%. Isn't that like a snail crawling in the dark? Qinfeng shook his head. You still have to clear all the obstacles, so he didn't waste time. The death wings behind him spread out, taking him up, carefully avoiding the challenge area of the skeleton road and throwing himself into a dark environment. Here, it was pitch dark. Even the wall lights of the skeleton road were completely invisible. In this environment, ordinary players would lose their sense of direction directly, and they would not want to kill those skeleton flying dragons that were nowhere to be found. What's more, this place was not only pitch dark, there were also more and more intense instant death affixes surging towards Qinfeng. At first it was 50 points per second, then 100 points per second, then 200 points per second. The higher you fly, the higher the instant death affixes. Qinfeng only flew up more than 10 meters, and the surrounding instant death affixes were 25, 600 per second. After flying a few more meters, the surrounding instant death affixes were already 409, 600 per second.